Hello, hello, beautiful people. How are we doing? Hi, Matt. Thank you for coming. Thank you for supporting. I appreciate it. Um, I started a few seconds late, or a little bit late, so I'm gonna go ahead and get started. But I will be going over how to use Google Cloud products, because it's not Google Cloud Platform anymore. How to use Google Cloud in your hackathon projects. I specifically wanted to make it interactive and like y'all decide how it goes. So I had that form in the announcement. If you haven't seen that yet, you still have time to fill out the form. I could put it up if you like, but either way, put it in the chat if you have any suggestions or anything that you particularly want to learn. Um, as usual, my resources, this slide, as well as the recording of the workshop right after is going to be on that link tree that I made, which is already in the announcement post. And yeah, so oh, Matt was the one who decided, who suggested that. Yeah, so someone was suggesting, can we make something that returns a picture of the nearest cat to the chosen location using databases in Maps API? And while I absolutely love the idea of cat projects, one thing that I already see with that project is that we don't know anywhere that has a database of cat locations. Because, as is the case with most data projects or data related projects, we need the data. We need to, like, we have to work within the confines of what is available. So, um, we could tweak it around, the same idea of like find the nearest cat. Oh, we could crowdsource our cats. Yeah, that could be an option as well. Um, and that would allow us to have like a database and have a form, and that would dictate a lot of the functionality of our project. So I guess I'm gonna use this slide to go over sort of like our agenda or how we're gonna do things. Ideation, architecture, implementation. Yeah. And I'm gonna put all of our brainstorming stuff on this slide so that anyone who joins late or has any questions about what we went over can go here. Um, there we go. What is the context for what you're discussing? So I am trying to squeeze in as many Google Cloud products into one project as possible. I remember a few other coaches did a session in a previous Global Hack Week where they wanted to um, get as many sponsor prizes as possible. As someone who has earned the Google Cloud Prize, I wanted to share some ways that I got chosen for the prize, but because usually it's just like pick one, but what is usually the case with these sponsor prizes is that it's not just about qualifying for the prize, it's about being the best use of the prize. Um, and usually people just go with like, oh, I'm going to use Firebase and that's it. Or I'm going to include a map on my website and that's it. So I'm trying to show y'all that there are a lot of different ways that you can use Google Cloud. And it's more than just the map, it's more than just Firebase. Um, and you could have your entire architecture in Google Cloud. I'm saying this in the context of hackathon projects because cloud services are usually used for huge projects, and I've often found difficulty in figuring out how I can use these products on in a much smaller scale, because our hackathon projects are not like on the same scale as these cloud enterprise products. But yes, so the link tree that I put up that Matt so graciously put on the chat does not have these slides yet. I'm gonna do that right this second. So you're gonna see me. Let's see. so that I don't forget and so that y'all can access it immediately. I'll add the link to the link tree, and then I'm gonna fix it up later. It should be the first link, and it's updated on my end right now, so you should be good. I'm gonna keep that up there unless someone else has other comments that they want to add. But yeah, so I have here 3 links. This is the HackPack link. So this is specifically Google Cloud for students. What is available? This is like your first like the first place you'd want to start if you want to use Google Cloud for your hackathon project. You get, I believe, $300 worth of credits when you first create your account. It expires in a while, like a while. So that should last you for however many hackathon projects you would like. For context, Google Cloud products for our hackathon project scale is going to ask for like at most 25 cents, unless you make it bigger or you keep it around for a really long time. You're not going to use $300. Or if you are going to a Google Cloud sponsored MLH event, you can get, I believe, $25 credit codes. So that's in addition to the 300 that you get starting out. With that in mind, so we have here resources for you to get started. There's skill badges, certifications, etc. And then the next link that I have is the cheat sheet. This is what I used to create that form where I asked y'all what you wanted to make. And it's super duper helpful. This is the first time I've seen this, so I guess it's a fairly new cheat sheet, but it color codes based on what functionality you want, whether it's a database or storage, which I only recently realized what the difference was, networking, management, they even have gaming stuff. And then there's the usual Google Maps and Firebase. And then it'll tell you what exactly that does. And then if, for example, I remember Matt wanted the street view, I think. Yeah. So let's say we want this, it'll go straight to the documentation. And I applaud Google's like developer advocates because they have the best documentation. Super duper helpful. They even have snippets of code that you can just copy and paste straight from their documentation. They got sandbox examples. They even have so that it like connects directly to your Cloud Shell. When I started, before I started, I had told y'all if you want to follow along, if you want to create alongside me, make sure you have a Google Cloud account, got the console and the billing set up. Again, you don't have to pay much, if at all, and everything's covered by the free credits, so you're good. Let's see. I am pit stopping. Go over why one would use cloud services and specifically in the context of hackathons. Why do they matter? Yes. So cloud products are fantastic in that the limitations of your local device, computer, etc., does not matter. Virtual machines or the things that power cloud services. Backtrack to those unfamiliar with cloud services, you're basically borrowing a machine in a data center somewhere in the middle of nowhere that is owned by Google or Amazon or Microsoft or whoever cloud service you're using. If I want to create a really, really big project, I would want to use the cloud instead of my local computer. For example, for reliability, I think the term is where like if my computer's down, it's down. But the way that the cloud works is even if one virtual machine is down, there's 1,000 or 1,000,000 other machines that will take the load so that you like your product, your app, your whatever you made, your model won't be down. And then what else? Other reasons for cloud services in the context of artificial intelligence or creating machine learning models, you won't be using the processing power of your local computer. You would be using the processing power of the machines on the cloud, which means that you won't have like it'll go much faster, like much, much faster. There's even in the developer cheat sheet, if I go through AIML, they have here Vertex AI, which is like managing APIs, managing machine learning models. they have just for training the model, so you can like make it outside and use it outside of Google Cloud, but then just use the cloud for the training of the models, because that's what takes the longest. And then there's also, so one of the questions that I asked was like, if you want to use ML models, what cool newfangled technology would you want to try? They have chatbots, they have video annotation, they have speech to text and text to speech, they have cloud translation, etc. And then you can make your own models with minimal code using AutoML. Where if I remember correctly, it was like drag and drop stuff. And then in the context of hackathons specifically, because because in the context of large projects, the cloud is great for networking, security, DevOps type software. Like it's a huge scale. So if we go to architecture, and then let's say I want to make a sample, there was here sample app, yeah, and then I drag it in here. This is where, okay, there we go. This is how big a project could potentially get. I don't think I would be the best person to go through this architecture stuff, but if it's something that interests you, or it's something that you would want to learn about, this is the many different stuff that goes into like a full application. And the Google Cloud or any other cloud service would take care of a lot of this work for you, so you don't have to do it yourself. Or servers, or what other stuff could go into cloud services. But yeah, in the context of hackathons, makes stuff much easier, much quicker, does stuff for you. Because so one thing I want to note is, when I first started out with coding, I had this like elitist point of view where I wanted to do everything from scratch. UI libraries, APIs, whatever. I was like, no, I'm going to do it myself. But it doesn't make sense to reinvent the wheel. And as you move forward in your career, you'll realize that you need to find the balance between, yes, doing stuff yourself and like improving as an engineer, or I don't know, IP integrity, stuff like that, and getting to production as quickly as possible. Cloud services allows you to do that much faster for smaller scale projects. So yeah, ramble over. And I'm gonna go, let's see, Apple dogs. I didn't even know that was a thing. I do not believe in the Apple cult. That is. But yeah, how long does the student process take? If you want to clarify what that means, unless Matt has already answered your question, it's pretty straightforward, unless I misunderstood your question. But ask again in the chat if you are unclear. I'm going to move forward to the next. Oh, okay. We're figuring out what to make. Nice. Going through the suggestions that we had, the winner for which database we would use, because everyone wanted to use a database. No, maybe I just didn't do the logic of the form right. Okay. Anyway, Cloud SQL is the winner, which is MySQL, PostgreSQL, or SQL Server, as opposed to Firestore, somewhere here. The other, Firestore, there it is NoSQL. I don't think I should go into like the differences and stuff, but Cloud SQL is what we could use. So I'm gonna open the documentation to that, and then something else that we would need probably later is either App Engine or Compute Engine. Compute Engine is basically a more powerful version of App Engine, if I remember correctly, but they're basically virtual machines. These are useful. I use them for the sake of using them, but if you are like Jayesh, who is wondering about like why does it matter, the purple ones are more useful for bigger projects that your computer cannot handle. Like if you're on a laptop or on a tablet, then you can use virtual machines. So that's something. What else did we want to include? A lot of folks liked the maps. So Drive API, Drive Activity. Oh no, that's Workspace. I'm lying. Geolocation, converting coordinates, street view, geolocation. Okay, geolocation has a lot. And getting directions. So I'm gonna pick some maps thing. Sorry, that was funny. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Let us brainstorm. So I would want to say, okay, here are some things that we know we're gonna have. We're gonna have cats. We're gonna have maps. What else? What else do we want, friends? I would. Oh, the topics that people were into. We had said, okay, personal finance is a common one. We also have productivity. We have climate change. Okay. How do we include productivity and personal finance with cats and maps? I want to see the silliest possible project. Okay. Somewhere to find the lowest priced cat products. That works, yeah. How would we, if we measure the distance in cats, we could potentially use a compute engine to calculate the unit of cats. That would be a little silly. But yeah. Keep the ideas coming. I wanted to go over the actually starting with cloud products. So I'm going to console.cloud.google.com. Yep. Cool. So I'm going to make a new project. So I'm starting from the beginning. Because a lot of the confusion that I had with cloud products was the interface. I didn't know where everything was, and there's a lot to learn all at once. So I'm gonna start a new project, and then I'm gonna say GHW beginners, and then I guess that's my main billing account. I don't care about the organization. I did not know there was a project quota. Today we learned, friends. So we're creating a project, and then basically what a project is a collection of these different APIs and VMs or storages, whatever. All of them can be put together in this one project. So we got JHW beginners. So viewing all of their products, if you want to use these as a reason, as a way for you to brainstorm, the way that I worked on my cloud projects, I either had the idea of what to make in terms of cats or personal finance and productivity, or I legit just looked through the products that they had and figured out how can I incorporate this in a sort of interesting way, where for the AI stuff, this is a good way for you to get the best use of Google Cloud relatively easily. Don't quote me on that. But there might be some image stuff here for cats. Custom image models, but that would be custom. I don't want to do the work. Or we don't have time to do the work. Let me phrase it that way. Sorry, friends. I'm gonna quiet that. Oh, cool. So, oh dang. It do be like that. Or you can make hackathons your work. How about we start with storage? We could, or to piggyback on the, because like I'm trying to figure out a way to be able to either use storage or a database. Like if we have a page for cat adoptions, that could be the database, and then the images of the cats could go into cloud storage. Or personal finance or productivity. I'm like blanking, friends. Cat shelters. You could use a map for cat shelters. Who knew cats could be like a difficult topic to narrow down? I would love to hear other folks' ideas. In the meantime, where's my, oh, so we're going back to our project. And there we go. Awesome. So this is creating a storage bucket. This is creating a virtual machine. They even have recommendations and stuff. And then if you go through dashboard, some of the confusion that I had was taking care of like the administrative side of stuff, like all of the how many requests, like because APIs have a cap on how much you can call on it, and then there's the billing and like administrative stuff and access. Well, another thing that we could do is if you guys want to tag along, I could add you to this project, and then we could find out like, okay, this is how you do like permissions and stuff within the cloud. But that might be, yeah, because we had a lot of trouble with that when it was a hackathon project and I had a team, because one person has to make the project and you have to work within the same project and use the same API key, et cetera, et cetera. So that is something that is worth noting. So adding people to this project and then selecting a role. Here you can specify like if you only want this person to know like a specific, like just the data or just the storage or just the functions, etc. That would be where you would do it. Anywho, let's see. We could gotta stop doing this crowdsourcing ideas thing. Doesn't work as well if there isn't like a bunch of people. But at least I learned today. Another thing that I'm thinking about is instead of showing you something that I'm about to make, I could go over the ones that I did make, because those have various applications of Google Cloud, and I wouldn't have to, for example, I was just thinking about like, would I have to make the whole website first and then include all of the Google Cloud stuff, which might be a little bit of a doozy, and like not time efficient. So I'm going to pivot a little and hope that folks are okay with that. I can just like give random tidbits of information as I go along. Which ones do I have Google Cloud on? Okay, what I've made in the past. Noted. I think Creatica was a project. Yeah. This is a good Google Cloud project. Which one was this? Let's go to dev post. Which one was my Creatica project? Which one was Creatica? Is this Creatica? Yes, it is. Okay. So this one was something that I made. Nice. We love that. But also, friends, if it's late and you're tired, don't push yourself too hard. There is a recording. Your health is important, and we should take care of it. And okay, so this project was healthcare price transparency, because if you're American and or you know about the American healthcare system, it kind of sucks. And I found out that, for example, hospitals don't give you the price up front. You find out after, and then you're bombarded with all of these bills. So what I wanted to do was create a way for folks to give willingly give their financial information. Not exactly, like just the price of what the operation, medication, or treatment was, and then what insurance they had, and then where they were located, and then those kinds of information. I wonder, let's run it. This is the best flex. Free healthcare. Let's open our React app, and we have it here. Let's hope it's presentable. Nice. Did myself a past me, did future me a solid. So this was the project that I had. For the authentication, I decided to use Firebase. I think it was just like, and then sign up, and then I didn't really actually do it, finish it. So this is the reality of ambition. So you at least see that it was validated. But the idea was, once you're logged in, you can you can add information, but otherwise you wouldn't be able to. The way that I did the authentication was, so here we have this. And the way that I did that was, so it was Firebase config. Firebase is a little bit separate from Cloud, but the billing and the integration are pretty much the same. So they do count towards, for example, the Google Cloud Prize. The difference is this one is a little geared towards, for example, mobile development. They also have, so let's go get started, right? Okay, so to repeat the idea on what the project is, I wanted to allow people to submit their information. So here, get them well informed about the prices of different procedures, and then you make an anonymous account, upload information regarding your procedure or medication, and then view others' information in comparison. Yes. If you are familiar with levels.fyi, it's a really, really good resource, at least for tech. Let me let that load for a bit. And then this is a good project of mine. Is this the Creatica one? Who knows? But this is a sneak peek of what Firebase is capable of. So I have here analytics. It's like one extra line of code to include it. So it's super duper simple. And it just says how many active users there are in a day. It links to Google Analytics, like the SEO marketing tool. View more in Google Analytics. So this automatically connects to your analytics. So if you make a personal website, for example, like for yourself, and then you want to track how well it's doing, or how many people actually look at your website, and something that's relatively important for me how long people spend on my website. Because similar to resumes, people spend a wee bit of time on websites or like portfolios. So it turns out that for me, the average engagement time on my website is 12 seconds in the past. How long was this? 28 days. So for the past 28 days, 12 seconds is the average time that people go on my website. Um, and then some folks go there for longer, and then some folks just like are there for a second, and I guess that's what like lowers the average. Um, what else? You could, if you want to make a side hustle, revenue can be shown here, but that's not something that I guess is relevant right now, so I'm going to leave it at that. Is the feature for Firebase free? Yes. So I think I can definitively say that anything that you could possibly want to do within a hackathon weekend is gonna be free in Firebase. Um, if you're asking for something bigger, like remember we had said revenue. If you want to like do pay, if you want to get paid doing the stuff that you want to do, that probably wouldn't be free anymore because some one way that they charge you is how many people show up to how many people click your link or how many people use the API or whatever. And the more people use it, the more expensive it's going to be. But it's like a few cents or fractions of a cent per person. And then this is the website that I was inspired by with the project that I'm explaining right now, where folks are able to compare their compensation, what that means, where it is, when, their information, etc. And I wanted to be able to do that for medical procedures as well. But yeah, going back, can you go over Firebase off? Gladly. So let's go to firebase.google.com and we go into our console. I could use this project instead. I don't think there's hosting here. Oh, there is. Would you look at that? Authentication. And then this is the like user interface way where like you'll have a list of all of the users that use your product or your project or your app. Sign in methods. One cool thing about Firebase that I don't think I've mentioned yet is it lets you log in with not just your email and your password. So you know that thing they do where put in your email, we'll email you a link that'll sign you in. That's something that Google Cloud, that Firebase can do. Or text, yes. So a phone number will also allow you to log in. Is there any other? Yeah. Game Center if you're, or play games if you're making a game, because that's something that Firebase does that I forgot to mention. You can do iOS, Android, web, and Unity. I thought that was pretty cool. So you can put Firebase in your games. So that was pretty cool. You can also log in with GitHub or Twitter or Microsoft, etc. Now there are, we don't need that. You don't need that. You can also specify like what domains are allowed to use this. When not super relevant in your individual projects, so I'm going to leave it at that. In order to get started, so I'm going to go through here, go to docs, and then you can follow the, okay, fundamentals at Firebase. We're going to start with, so I know you want me to go over auth in like specifically, but I think it would help if I go over how to put Firebase in your project in the first place and then put auth in it. So just for simplicity's sake, I'm going to say I want to add Firebase to the web. It has a sort of like a step by step that you can follow, or like you can click next and then you do the thing, and then you click next and then you do the thing. That way, you can like follow along. I don't know where I was going with that. My bad. But once you have your project created, similar to how we did in the cloud, like Google Cloud, we're going to do that in Firebase, have a project. And then all of like I don't think there's a way for one project to speak to another project's product. Like if you want the compute engine of one project to work with the Firebase of another project, I don't think that's possible. So that's why it's really important to stick to the one project so you don't have to like redo stuff or whatever. So once we have that project set up, we're gonna install Firebase, and then you can just copy and paste. So Firebase config is given to you when you set up Firebase. What that looked like for me is this. I don't think I'm afraid of showing you my API key since it's literally everywhere. But Google is kind enough to know that some of us are beginners and don't know to not put the API key in our GitHubs, but you should not put your API key in your GitHub. It gets the job done, but best practice is you don't want anyone else to see that. But my API key is here, and everything's like, this was just a copy paste, and then it ends here. So this was the thing that I had to copy and paste when I first set up Firebase as a whole, like not getting into auth yet. And then once I got into auth, this was the one line that they asked me to add, and then I was good to go for authentication. And then we are going into, so we have Firebase added now. We are going into authentication for web. There we go. So now we are getting started with Firebase authentication on websites. I didn't know the difference between the version 8 and the version 9, but sticking with the one that pops up first is a good like default. So copying and pasting this, yeah, so auth was the thing that I needed, the one line that I needed to add. And then the main things that you would have to do with authentication. So let's, oh, we're not doing those slides anymore. We don't care. The thing you would need to do is sign up, sign in, and it like from an admin side, maybe manage, but it's more like sign up, sign in, and then log out. In order to do that, yeah, you just kind of copy and paste because the stuff that you need is just here. And then creating a user with email and password, that's already a function, and you just put it in your code, and you're good to go. And then it tells you like which parameters you need. And then if you are looking for something specifically, like for example, authentication in web, and then let's say you wanted to, someone suggested SMS, and then you specifically wanted to use phone numbers to log in, the documentation has that. Otherwise, you can just say phone. So we're good there. And authentication with Firebase with a phone number using JavaScript. Here, we learn that the difference is just a matter of the reCAPTCHA verifier, I guess, is before that, sending a verification code to the user's phone. Here, sign in with phone number. This is the thing that I was looking for. We had seen earlier that it was like sign in with email and password. Here, it's sign in with phone number, and then the parameters are just a little bit different. It's pretty straightforward in that the names of the functions or the names of the stuff that you want to use, like the naming conventions are pretty straightforward. So you can get a sense of what to do next based on that. Sign up, sign in are there to see that in, oops. Okay, so I just saw the message from Mary. I asked if we were allowed to give out Google Cloud credits, since I saw someone ask that in the server. Just relaying the message that we don't have any codes for this event. But as I said in the beginning, you don't need like extra credits. You can work with the 300 that you get when you first sign up. Awesome. Going back. Oh, I was going to show my code. And so this was what I had copied and pasted here. And then I realized as I was working along that I would have to put it, first of all, inside the function, or inside the app function. And then what I learned over time was that when you okay, creating a user. So in our page we had here, right here, form, and I just created some boilerplate form that asks for an email, a password, and then for the submission, when it actually does create the account, I added the handle submit to the on click, which meant that once that submit button was clicked, it would I don't have words, friends. It would do. I don't have like the jargon in my brain right now, but it would do handle submit, and inside handle submit, I so I want to suggest as a debugging technique, logging everything. So console log in JavaScript, or printing in Python or whatever. Console log stuff so you know where exactly it's bugging out. In this case, I said that once handle submit was called, I would say called, and then if there was an error, then do something else. The way that that would help is if I do a console log here and then that one doesn't show up in my console, then somewhere in between called and that new one that I had is the error, because it's not getting to the next console log. So yeah, so that's what I had. And then dot operator to do the next few things. Another set content is for cloud storage or Cloud SQL. Cloud SQL, I think. Yeah. I'll go into that unless anyone has any questions about authentication. It was pretty straightforward. I remember I was so inflated when I made this project. I was like, wait. Yeah. So I finished this project in 9 hours, and I thought it was a good idea to show on my demo that I finished it in 9 hours, which was a little, but that's okay. But yeah, so this is all of the stuff that I'm showing you is definitely doable within a hackathon period, even more so if you're on a team. But going back, so that covers authentication, unless Wombo or anyone else has any questions about authentication, or let me see if there's anything else I want to cover. Yeah. I don't think off the top of my head I know how to do the thing where like you can't access a link unless it's logged in. So that's something that I would want to think about for the future. And I'm going to note that down here. Note to self. What was it? Lock unlog in out Firebase off. That is bad queries, but that's okay. Or a bad query. So that's it for authentication, I believe. And now I'm going into here. I'm going to go into Cloud SQL. I remember folks were asking about, yeah, Cloud SQL is what I used, how to use it, and SQL. There we go. So I'm going to show a little bit about how I set it up instead of just the code, because the thing with cloud services is it's not, you don't just code it. There's like the interface that I said was like the GUI that was confusing because I didn't know where to start. So I went to the dashboard of my project, and then I went to SQL. So resources specifies like the main ones that people usually use, but the rest of them are right here. Anything that you want to go over, more products, everything's right there. So I'm going to click on SQL and then create an instance. Oh, okay, it explains there. You got it. Yeah. MySQL, PostgreSQL, or SQL Server are the You can choose which one you want to use. I think the one that I remember best is MySQL, so I'm going to click that. And then in order to create an instance, so it tells me the stuff that I'm missing, if I don't have it already. And this helps because this is a new project. So I'm going to say enable API, and it's going to work a little bit. I mean, it did take a few seconds when we made the project, so I guess it's going to take a little bit to create the compute engine. While that's loading, I guess, I'm going to continue with what I had to do for Cloud SQL. Designing your schema, super duper important, figuring out how your table is going to look like, and what information you would need. I started wanting to put like username, password, etc. into that database, but then Firebase authentication took care of that. So the only thing we have to care about here, where is it? Oh, like this. Okay, so I needed somewhere for I needed a field for procedure, location, date, total cost, paid out of pocket, and insurance. And then I had to connect that to the accounts that were in my Firebase authentication. And the way that I did. Okay, awesome. We're cool. Instance ID, GHW, Jan 22. Oh, we're 2023. Lord. And then password, I don't really care, so I'm going to say 0, 0, 0, 0. Or no, I can say no password. Nice. Nope. Maybe a bad idea. So we'll just say 0, 0, 0, 0. And then you can care about the database, the specific version. There's production versus development. Production is like ready for everyone else to use. Development is, as it says, cheaper and like before you're done, you're in development, and then once you're done, you're in production. So I'm going to choose development. Sticking to whatever region that they suggest to you is usually best. I like that they specify that these are carbon are good for the environment. These suggestions are either based on that or based on how many folks are already using that zone and therefore how much is available for you to use, and what's near you. So I just stick with whatever is default. I think that's everything that I need to. I don't need to customize. I just stick with what's available, and then I say create instance. I'm going to take a little bit again. I don't need you. And then this is where it tells me how much is being utilized. Connection name, I'm going to need that in a little bit because once I'm set up tests. Nope. Maybe I'm trying to. It's okay. So, we're going to use the connection name later, and then Cloud Shell is something that, if, for example, you're on a Windows and then you have some commands that you won't be able to use on a PowerShell a G Cloud, or like Cloud Shell is super duper helpful for that. It kind of turns off after a while though, so that's one downside, in the sense that if you aren't using your terminal for a long time, they'll take it away from you, and then you can restart it, but then you lose all the stuff that you were working on earlier. But it's a good alternative. There's also tutorials available for. I love that it shows it on the side. for how to connect with the compute engine, because another thing that is difficult with cloud services is connecting everything together. I need a new Cloud SQL instance here, and then it gives you a step-by-step, like I mentioned. So APIs, they even have the buttons to do it for you. So you don't have to open a new page. So it's not just like copy-pasted information on these tutorials. So we have the project, we have the APIs open, and then we're going to click next. Go to page. Oh, I accidentally did not create a new tab. That's too long. So we're going to say create instance in our compute engine. We're just going to stick to the same ones, or like the defaults. Dude, it's been 2 minutes. Odd. And then containers are specifically yeah, I think I can just stick with it. Okay, wrong. So that's where it comes in, where you might have to pay for stuff, but then you can just lower the specs. So say micro instead of medium, lowered it from 25 to 7. And then what else can I change that lowers the pricing? I don't know what these mean. So see, I don't have all the answers, and I am doing this with not minimal, but like not all the cloud experience or the cloud terminology done very well. But you can still get the job done. Oh, pay for what you use, no upfront costs, and per second billing. Another important thing to note. So even though my monthly estimate is $711, I don't need to pay for that right now, so I'm good. So I'm going to say create. We're good. And then you don't have to worry, because if you make a billing report that, like a billing account that either doesn't have a card or has enough, like an empty gift card in it or credit code in it, they won't like chase you down or overdraft you. They'll just stop the instance or the whatever you're working on. They'll just take it down. So there aren't any repercussions. So I finished create an instance, and then I don't think I said allow HTTP traffic, did I? Oh, I can still change that. So that's another thing with cloud stuff. Sometimes you can't change stuff after the fact. Like there's some things that once you say create and they're created, you cannot make changes. Yes, I'll see HTTP traffic off. So I'm going to, can I reset it? Do I have to make a new one? I can take edit, maybe. Let's try this. Yay! Okay. I allowed it. And then I can say save. And then let's see. It's a lot of waiting. So make sure you set up everything beforehand, I guess. So we're good there. We got our compute engine, and it's insane that the instance is still being created. Going back, what I had to do once like my instance and my engine were ready, I just had to let's do it the way so you can find it as well. There's got to be a button here for docs. Yeah, there it is, browse documentation. And then I'm going to say Cloud SQL. And then Cloud SQL for MySQL is what I want. You can use the quick starts, creating an instance. All of these are, the guides are like step-by-step for like specific things you want to do. And then the other docs are like, as a matter of fact, this is what it is, as opposed to, if you want to do this, here's what you do. So let's just say quick start with private IP, Cloud Run, Cloud Functions. We did say App Engine earlier, so we could use this. Compute Engine. No, I didn't say App Engine. I said Compute Engine. Cool. So this is what you would need. Following this, so you choose the project, you enable the APIs. We already went through that. Setting up Cloud SQL, public versus private IP, and then creating a user. This is through the GUI as opposed to through code. And then, there we go. No, this is set up Linux VM instance development environment. That's not what we want. They're here. They're asking us to use a sample app, but we can. So JavaScript is what we were working with before. We'll stick with that. This allows us to, so remember we had said connection name. That's where we put this. And then user ID. Or like, I don't think that's the user that they're asking for. Root. Root is who they're asking for. Where'd I go? There I go. Now, since those purple parts were edited, I can just copy it and wherever I want to put it, paste it. So that like helps with making stuff easier. I guess the like difficulty here would be like getting used to the nuances. Well, once you get the hang of it, which I guess you're seeing now with how like I'm speeding through stuff. If you have any questions, if you're confused, feel free to stop me at any point. I'm always open to either going on tangents or answering any questions. Again, we just kind of copy and paste these here. There's the cleanup. We don't care about those. Is there anything else that I had to do for this project? So what I did for this use effect is getting I defined the function that I wanted to use, which was get data, and then I called get data right here. And then here is a fetch request that is going to entries. And entries is I see. This is where you came from. I see. Yeah. So this is where this is what. So one of them is the server.js and the other is the app.js. So I copied and pasted this snippet of code, the server.js, from this thing here. So their sample projects or like their doc samples is where I got it. And then I went to Cloud SQL, say MySQL, probably got it from here. And then what I had done was, so I'm gonna go over the ones that are green because I'm assuming those are the ones that I added. So here I had, so these process.env tells me that I have a .env, which is where I should have put my API key. The credentials, when you set up your Cloud SQL, when you start putting it into your app, it'll give you a JSON of this. So if I go to GitHub, so it gave me this, where it has like the service account and then the private key and then all of that stuff. And I just had to give the location of where that credential was so that when I run it locally, it'll know where to go. And then instance host, port, username, password, name, host, and then instance connection name. That's the thing that I copied and pasted earlier. Now, though that information is now used by this file, so instead of writing like DB user, instead of writing root here, when I commit this to my repo, this is all it says, because the .env is something that you put in your gitignore. So here in my gitignore, I have the .env because I don't want my, sorry about that, my API key in anyone else's hands. So we're good there. Creating a pool is, okay, so I'll explain the stuff that confused me with this project, or like with this stuff. If I go here and I say create pool, and I just look it up, I'll find there. But this doesn't exactly tell me what a pool is. Go, no, there we go. No. There we go. A connection pool is a cache of database connections shared and reused to improve connection latency and performance. So that pool is what I am talking about right here. So this is the function that gets called. You can see here that there's create TCP pools SSL certs, which includes the SSL certificates that I just hit here. And then there's create TCP pool when there isn't SSL certificates. There's unit socket pool, there's a bunch of, and then there's just a regular pool. And you'll see right here, if there's certificates, then call, where is it? Oh, this is what I'm looking for, my bad. This is why you want to comment your code, friends. So, when there is a host and a root certificate, then create it with the SSL certificates. Otherwise, then just a regular TCP pool. But if there's a host and no, but if there is no host, then create a Unix socket pool. And then if all else fails, then that's where we have just create pool. And then this is where I was able to create my schema. This is SQL stuff, or in this case, MySQL stuff. And again, like I said before, for debugging purposes, I created a log for showing that the table exists. Is there anything else here that I would want to? There we go. So this is why this is here. There we go. Awesome. And all it's saying is all of the information that you get from this query is gonna go here, and into the entries page. So what happens if I, oh, because I didn't turn it on. What do I run? Node server.js. App was sitting on port 8080. Let's try this again. Let's look at our console. You did not help, friend. Nope. But yeah, theoretically, that's what would have happened. Where this server.js creates the table, puts in the information, etc., and gives it to entries. This, I think, is something that I didn't finish, where I wanted to receive the information from the folks who already logged in and gave their information. This it's called votes and team because it was what the sample app was like, the situation of the context of the sample app. But as mentioned, mine is more medical procedures and stuff. So that's where the names don't match. But yeah. Cool. So that is what happened with Cloud SQL. That one took me a long time to figure out. But I kind of gave the gist of what I learned from the documentation. I still have a lot of blanks in terms of like, I don't know. I don't entirely know what TCP is or what the certificates are for, but I still know enough to like implement it, I guess. And the same goes for y'all. Even if you don't entirely understand the inner workings of it, you can still use it with the knowledge that you do have and the documentation that is there. Cool. So is there anything else about this project that I want to go over before I move on to potentially another project? We got this. Oh, this was something I guess content is, so I'm gonna control and then click it so I know where it's coming from. So content came from the state, which is determined by this. That's where set content came from. Cool. So one thing to note when you're using Cloud SQL with React or something similar, you have to put that array into a state and then use it from the state instead of using the array like immediately. My understanding of it is that because React, my posture is so bad. Because React automatically reloads when there is a change in state, this allows the app to re-render or update accordingly when there is an update to that database because it's already in the state, as opposed to only passing it in once. So yeah, so we have here set content. So now what I did here is, so old array arrow function, and this syntax allows me to say, so this ... is saying the old array is still the old array, but add this after. So append, I guess, is one way you could call it, where I just added this one object into the array, where I say object.content, object.guest name, and then object.id. And then, yeah. So those are some little tidbits that I wanted to share with y'all. And then so I said .map. This is one way so that you don't have to keep, or this is, yeah, so you map through the data and then present it, like render it. Yeah, cool. Unless anyone has any questions, I'm going to start looking for the next project that I want to go over for the last half hour. But I am very, very open to anyone's suggestions on what specifically they want to learn, or what they want to see. Let's see. Creatica, Expo, I don't think used cloud. This task list was Firebase, but that's a little basic. I don't even know if I finished it. Let's see. I remember making this because I wanted to specifically make a to-do list, but then I kept going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth on like which component, how to split up the components, and then how to get separate components to interact with each other. So this is an unfinished project, but let's see if anything here is useful for y'all. So yeah, Firestore. So yeah, this is something that we haven't talked about yet. Here we can go to project overview, Cloud Firestore. And what this does is, oh, I remember this project. This was pretty cool. Then you have a query builder. Cool. So what I had done here that I learned is when you, so what we showed in the previous project was Cloud SQL. This is Firestore. This is the NoSQL database. Ah, yes. So the difference between this is I actually used the same method of like appending, and then here I had to put it in a component did mount, which I guess is the equivalent of use effect in the other one. This is, I guess, an older project, so I had class components instead of functional components. But basically what this means is upon rendering, collect the data. So get the docs, and then here it's saying docs within this collection in this database called tasks. And then so that's me, this one line just gets the docs. And then here is putting that doc into the state, because remember what I said earlier, don't interact with the data directly, put it in a state and then interact with that state. So this is that's what this is doing. And then this is for each. Cool. And then once we're at render, cool. So what I had done is for each of those task list items, create an array of those. So what this is doing is an array of components. And then that array of components, when you put it inside the return, will render each of those components in that array, as opposed to like the other way that I did it was putting the map function inside the return. Here, I compiled them all first and then put them in the return. So that's just a different way of doing things. I'm pretty sure there's like one of them is better. I haven't figured out which one yet, but those are different ways that you can do it. So I'm going to sidetrack and read this question. Dealing with some tech stack I'm not proficient in, so I would be slow at building my project. Does building it in cloud help me in any way, as opposed to building it on my local machine? Let's break down this question. If you are participating in a hackathon and it's a tech stack that you're not proficient in, my understanding of that is like, so for example, if everyone else is using Java and you don't know Java, that cloud probably might. Okay, we can do it this way. If, for example, the tech stack that you're not proficient in does a specific task, like you needed Python to manipulate the data because pandas is super duper helpful. Nah, I don't know how that would, but yeah. Let's say there's a specific functionality of that thing that you're not proficient in. You can use the cloud for that. But yeah. And another way would be, so for example, the first few times that I tried AI in my projects, I didn't build the model myself. What I had done was I used their pre-built models, and I remember using AutoML, which was just like I dragged and dropped different images. But then the downside of that is it's very menial to um, drag and drop thousands of images, because that's how much you need to get it done. Probably more than thousands. But I guess in summary, Jayesh, what I would suggest if you're not proficient in the tech stack, think of what that part of the tech stack is trying to accomplish. And then chances are there is a cloud product available that will make it easier for you. So if everyone else wants to use Java, but you don't know Java, but the Java is what is Java used for? I don't know, the back end. Then you could potentially create that back end in the cloud with whatever programming language you are proficient in, and then connect it to the rest of the project that way. I think that would be yeah. So I hope that helps. Is there Firebase, Firestore. So these are any other stuff that you might need. Any other projects that I want to go over? Hackathons number 22, Hack to School, Hunter Hub. That was, I think Magenta uses cloud. No, it does not. So let's go to, that is a vaguely titled, that is not a project that I would, oh, this is my Unity project. Let's see. Pax was my NFT project. React Auth. Oh, no, this is handmade. WeMotion probably did. Yeah, it did. But it was just Firebase. But it's still pretty useful. So here we are using context. Here my teammate actually used the .env for the API key and everything else within the config. And my teammate separated everything into different files. Let's look at context.js. Oh, it's just great context. See, I was expecting, so that's another way that cloud makes it easier. I was expecting, because I know that you can manually create like React contexts, and I think one of my previous projects does that, where like it needed a whole file just to create a context and like maintain that. Whereas here, Firebase, even if it doesn't like, oh, it does have, okay, yeah, it sped up the process because it's now one line instead of one entire file, or like files worth of lines. Now what I have here is probably not what I want. Probably not what I want. Firebase. And I commented it out. Here is another Firebase one where this is where the Firebase context goes in. Oh, this is just console logging. So I guess this was just a sample, and it wasn't the thing that is being used in the project itself. Yeah. I think I've exhausted the projects that I did want to go over. And the chat is looking a little slow, so I think now would be a good place to wrap it up unless anyone else has any questions, and I very much welcome any questions. Um, to those of y'all who stayed up with me, thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you for believing in me. I know that yesterday's session was a lot better, but I did my best, and that's what matters. A win is a win. I don't know. But I hope this was somewhat helpful. I don't know. And I hope this is a sign for you to check out the Google Cloud sponsor prize for MLH hackathons and use it in your projects. Awesome. Yeah. No, that's not what I'm looking for. Awesome. But yeah, thank you, friends. Have a great rest of your day and happy hacking.